in the kickoff session, we talked about your belief. And so now we're going to talk about the belief and how it can help you succeed in your Avon business. If you're great at selling Avon, which all of you are, you're great at selling Avon products. All of you are very accomplished in that area. Um, the sky is the limit. And while the word selling can sometimes feel icky and some people don't like to feel that they sell, Avon's approach to selling is all about making connections, sharing, and having conversations. And sometimes that's easy and sometimes it's not. But tonight we're going to learn more about how we can create meaningful and very sincere connections and not only sell Avon product, but also sell the Avon opportunity. So that's what we mean when we talk about um, conversational selling. So it's really moving from an opportunity taker to an opportunity maker. And so we're hopefully you've got pen and paper in front of you because there's going to be some acronyms that I'll share. Or if you have those sheets in front of you, you might want to make notes on those pages. But in this seminar, we're going to discuss selling the Avon opportunity. And the reason why we're talking about selling the Avon opportunity is because each one of you are in leadership. And what that means is that you're looking to mentor other people and bring other people into the business, or you wouldn't be in leadership. You would just say, "Hey, I'm fine. I just want to sell." But keep in mind that you can apply the same skills that we're going to go through tonight to selling products as well as selling to your teams. Um, and so when we look at conversational selling, we're looking at the S in the word boss. And that S, one of those S's stands for selling. And then we're going to talk about what is called a GROW model, GROW. And those three letters stand for G, get to know the person and her needs. R, recommend the right Avon solution. O, offer a relatable story to demonstrate your belief. And W, work to establish next steps. So that's what the GROW model is all about. And as you get very comfortable in utilizing conversational selling, these four letters, it will just be automatic. You will automatically move from G to R to O to W. And that's the way it's a process. It's a process of thinking, it's a process of communicating, and a process of sharing. And you want to make it very conversational. So as mentioned, we are focusing on the S in boss, which is selling. Again, you may be thinking that selling the Avon opportunity is all about outreach. And we'll align with the O in boss when we discuss planning later in this program, because in the planning module, you're going to plan who you want to reach out to and how to expand your network. So this module is solely focused on selling conversations and really how to conduct those selling conversations. So when we say selling conversations, we're really reflecting on your sales approach and your experiences as a customer. Um, would any of you admit that you can be timid or passive, or have you had a salesperson be too timid or passive with you? Would any of you admit that
Yes.
you can be too timid sometimes, or maybe passive, or have you ever had a salesperson be too timid or passive with you?
This is Jennifer.
When I first started with Avon, I was extremely passive.
Uh-huh.
I was very shy and backward, and the idea of approaching a stranger was terrifying. So I started out that way. Of course,
Started out.
17 years later,
Yeah.
I don't think I'm necessarily timid and shy, but I definitely had that problem when I started.
Okay. Very good. Very good. And each one of you may have people on your teams that may feel that same way. They may feel a little timid and they may feel a little passive. And just always remember, just as Jennifer shared, we're going to talk about relatable stories, because by you kind of sharing your story, you can put that person at ease. Anyone else sometimes feel timid or passive or have in the past?
I know I am. This is Cheryl.
Uh-huh. Okay. And that's good. I mean, it's very important to kind of admit to ourselves, where we stand. On the flip side, um, you could be overly aggressive. And when you look at being overly aggressive, um, would any of you kind of admit to falling into that category? Or either have you experienced a salesperson that you felt were like overly aggressive with you?
This is Michaela. I can't stand being in a mall and having somebody overly aggressively try to sell me something. And usually they want to spray something on you or, whatever. And because I can't stand that, I don't know. I don't think I've ever been overly aggressive to someone else because, you usually like to treat people the way you like to be treated.
Right, right, right. And it makes you, when they're overly aggressive, it just really makes you feel a little uncomfortable and turns you
Yes.
off. It really turns you off.
Yes.
So in those two examples, on the left side of your screen, when you look at timid and passive, in quotes you see, I really enjoy working for Avon. Maybe we can chat one day about what it could do for you. That's very timid and passive, because it's kind of like throwing it out there on a hope and a prayer. It's not very strong. It's not very intentional. Or overly aggressive could be, well, are you looking for an opportunity unlike any other? Are you seeking a social life that provides financial freedom? Well, then, do I have the answer for you? Now, we've all kind of heard similar kind of pitches from people, and we didn't like it for whatever reason. Um, and so we want to move from those styles to more of a confident conversational style, that's confident enough to grow your business. And it's going to incorporate the GROW module, which is to get to know the person and their needs, recommend the right Avon solution, offer relatable stories that demonstrate your belief, and work to establish next steps. So our goal in this module is to help you believe in yourself, utilizing really some of the content you did in the first module, and really have the confidence to build relationships and grow your business through very easy conversations. And so if we accomplish our goals, your prospects, they'll want to be a part of your team. They'll want to be your customers, and they'll be drawn to your confidence. They're going to see that confidence in you as you're sharing. So when you look at growing your business, as you meet people and talk to people that remember that every conversation is an opportunity to grow your business. Every single conversation that you have, every encounter that you have is an opportunity to grow your business. It might be an opportunity to sell Avon product, or it could be an opportunity to sell the Avon opportunity. And so these are the 4 steps that you're going to use with every conversation. What are you thinking so far?
This is Michaela. It's a lot easier to reel people in that way.
Okay. When you say reel people in, by starting with getting to know the person and their needs first?
Yeah, just the actual GROW method.
Okay.
Seems like that's the easiest way to, to reel them in, to keep their interest, to hopefully get something at the close of the conversation, regardless of what that might be.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay. Very good. Very good. And so when you start to make every conversation matter and you sell successfully with these simple steps, there's a lot of steps down there at the bottom, but it's really not that many steps. I mean, we're going to break the conversation down into small bite-sized pieces and chunks so we can really get a feel for how the conversation flows. But if you really look at what's happening in that conversation, it does start with a conversation. It gets into digging deeper. It gets into clarifying needs. Then it gets into communicate solutions. What I find very often is that many representatives and leaders start a conversation and communicate a solution, and step 2 and 3 kind of get skipped over. And then step 5 is connecting the dots, sharing your belief, always ask, and establishing next steps. Now, everybody's going to be a little bit different. Some people may be strong in all 8 of these areas. Some may be very easy or very good at starting a conversation, but maybe not real good at establishing next steps. Wherever you are, the purpose of this module and the purpose of this session is for you to kind of figure that out so that you can begin to practice it. And then as you practice it, then you can be able to then you'll be able to teach it. Because so often you as a leader will have a situation where you'll call somebody up on your team, or you're talking to someone on your team, and they may say to you, well, I am just not having any luck finding customers, new customers. And I don't feel comfortable asking people to join my team. And so as you learn this process, then you'll be in a better position to teach them how to use the everyday conversation as a way of promoting their business, whether it's the product or the opportunity. So the G is to get to know the person and her needs. And when we look at G, it's about just starting that conversation, be it with someone you've known for a while or a chance encounter, or maybe it's a complete stranger. And once you get talking, you'll have to dig deeper to uncover her needs and her wants. And it's really important to understand that what she wants and needs so that you can help her see how the Avon solution can help her later on. Okay? So let's talk about chance encounters. And that's just making the most of every chance encounter. There are opportunities that cross our paths every day to start a conversation with people that we do not know. And we call these chance encounters. Did anyone have a chance encounter today that they'd like to share? Maybe they were at the doctor's office, maybe they were at the mall, maybe they were having lunch or breakfast. When was your last chance encounter? Anybody? Maybe it's
Are you talking about a chance encounter as in we actually did something about it, or are you just asking in general when we've been around someone we didn't know lately, or?
either one. A chance encounter It's just, you were out and about and you may not have said anything. So you might want to think, oh, well, gosh, why didn't I say something? Why didn't I speak? Or you might say, well, yeah, I was in the line and I was talking to a lady and we were talking, although I didn't really get to the point to even tell her that I was an Avon representative. Whatever the case may
Well,
be, just a chance encounter.
okay. Well, this is Michaela, and I made Avon stops today. So I guess I went through the drive-through at McDonald's, and the lady asked me if I was the one that had the Diet Coke, and I just said yes. But I didn't do anything more than that, so I guess that would qualify.
Yep, that would be a chance encounter. Okay. So it was, I mean, you were out and about and you were making deliveries. You just went through the line. Um, it,
Yeah.
it may or may not have been an opportunity. Other places where you might experience chance encounters could be like, at the department store, at the grocery store, at the drugstore. Maybe you're at a friend's birthday party or a kid's birthday party or a sporting event. Maybe you're at the dentist's office or the doctor's office and you're in the waiting room. Um, there's just about every place that you go. And everyone, if you got out of the house today, you probably went somewhere and saw some people or did something. Consider all of those as as chance encounters. And as uncomfortable as it may feel, um, consider the following two facts when it comes to chance encounters. You will probably never see that person again in your life. And believe in yourself and in your mission. You're there to bring an opportunity to someone who might need it. So often I think we skip over it because we're thinking, oh gosh, they're not going to want it. Now's not the right time. But you never know till you ask. So we're going to talk about how you can connect with people during your chance encounters. And so it's important to have an easy way to start a conversation during chance encounters. And we have a couple of good options to help you connect with someone. Option one is really about finding common ground and to ask open-ended questions to get the person talking. So say you're in a long line at the grocery store and you might say to the person next to you, wow, this line is so long. Who has time for this? You might say something totally different. You may say, wow, this line is so long. Looks like they need to open up some other checkout stands. But once the person responds in agreement, then you can ask her another open-ended question that gets her talking. Like, well, how would you rather be spending your time? So this is just a couple of examples. If you may say, hey, that's not me. I'd never ask either one of those two questions ever. But when you're talking about common ground, you're looking at the environment that you're in, that you're both in the same kind of situation, and you're finding something common that you're both experiencing to start the conversation. For example, you might be, if you're on the PTA and you sit down next to someone that you don't know at a PTA meeting, or maybe you've gone to a recital for your grandkids or gone to one of their ball games, you might drum up a conversation. And so it's really kind of taking that encounter, that common situation you're in, and striking up a conversation. How many of you feel comfortable in doing that?
I very seldom do.
Okay. So,
This is
go
this is
ahead.
Michaela. I'm comfortable doing it, but I'm not always in the mood to do it. Just being honest.
Uh-huh. Yeah, yeah. Well, and of course, if you're not in the mood, guess what? That's going to come through, and
Yeah.
it's going to cause a barrier in that communications and that conversation with that person. So you certainly want to be pleasant, because then if you're not in the mood, that conversation is not going to go very far. Um,
Right.
an example where maybe you're at just say you're at a PTA meeting, and you might say, wow, I feel like I'm a forever PTA member, with 3 kids, or I feel like I'm starting all over as a PTA member. I'm here with my grandkids. How about you? So again, you'll see the question. The question here is a how, because when you use the word how, HOW, no one can respond back to you with a yes or no answer. They have to have a conversation. Or if you ask, with the word who, typically you're not going to get a yes or no answer. There's going to be a response in the form of a sentence. Once a person answers, then again, you always want to use an open-ended question. You know, in the example of the PTA, you may say, well, gosh, I feel like I'm a lifetime PTA member because I'm here with my grandkids today. What about you? Oh, well, I've got 3 kids in school, da 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 da. So you're listening. Always listen. And you're responsible. How well, hey, I'm juggling a lot. I'm helping my daughter out. But how do you manage your time? How do you manage everything with the kids and this? So it's chit chat. It's learning to ask very small questions that are very situational, that are allow you to find common ground in a situation. If you're in a waiting room and you're all waiting for a doctor, and you could strike up a conversation. Well, gosh, how long have you been here? And they may say, well, are you seeing Dr. So and so, so and so? Oh, well, yes, I've been seeing him for, several years. I like him a lot, da 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 da. Find ways to strike up a conversation wherever you are. Now that I've kind of thrown out common ground kind of scenarios, can anyone share an encounter that maybe they had today or over the weekend where maybe they could have used this common ground kind of conversation starter? None? Okay. So while you're thinking about that, if you look at option 2, and I'm sure this one you're all are very familiar with and you've probably used time and time again, it's to compliment her and then ask open questions to get her talking. But always remember to be sincere when you're complimenting someone. You don't want to sound cheesy, and you don't want to make that person feel uncomfortable. So, the example that you see here on the slide is maybe if you see a woman who's nicely dressed, and you might say, wow, you look sharp. What do you do? And again, the word what is going to be an open-ended question, causing them to say a little bit more. They may say, oh, I'm a nurse. So that's a 2-word response, but at least it tells you more. Oh, I'm a school teacher. Oh, I work so and so, that wherever. Um, they may not answer you at all. you know? But go back to what we said earlier. They may not ask you at all, but remember, you will probably never see that person again in your life. Think of it that way. So just ask the question. If you don't ask the question, you might never get to the opportunity to share either your product or the Avon opportunity with them. So you're asking a question, you're providing a compliment, um, and after she responds, you can ask another open-ended question, like, how do you like it? So she's told you what she does. Well, hey, how do you like your job? Or how do you like what you do? Again, giving her an opportunity to respond. Keeping in mind you're very attentive, you're listening, and you're starting this conversation. Has anyone started a chance encounter with a compliment? And I know many of you have been with Avon for a while, and I know that's probably, you've probably heard this one before, right?
Yeah, this is Michaela, and I'm trying to think. I don't know that I've started a conversation with a compliment. I mean, I think just complimenting on its own is very important. Like, I know when I made my Avon stops today, when one of my customers opened the door, she had a beautiful periwinkle pair of pants on and a shirt, and I complimented her on what she was wearing, hoping of course that she had her Avon bra on with that outfit. But people like to hear compliments, regardless of whether or not it's, there's something behind it or not. I mean, I'm sure Connie was very happy that she got complimented today, and that's just taking care of my customer, and being honest on top of it.
Right. I mean, you don't want to just throw compliments out there just because. You want to be very sincere, and in that instance, I mean, she's your customer. You were delivering to her. I mean, who doesn't want to hear a compliment? And that's part of that's the whole point, is that by giving the compliment, you open up yourself to a conversation, and that person receiving the compliment is going to be more open to letting you in. And so that's kind of the whole thing, particularly if you struggle just having conversations with people. You have to purposely find reasons to start up conversations. It's also good to catch compliments, especially about Avon products, yourself. So while you could give those compliments, it's always good to catch them. And when we say catch them, you're wearing some Avon clothes, or you have an accessory, or your makeup looks a certain way, and someone notices it and they compliment you, which again opens up the opportunity for you to either talk about product or the opportunity, or to just start to, share your love of Avon. So that compliment thing goes both ways. So don't forget to catch compliments from others by asking open-ended questions too. Okay? Any thoughts around that one? Good. Okay. So in all conversations, whether they are with people you just meet, or maybe it's people you already know, it's really important to ask those open-ended questions to get to know their needs and their wants. And by knowing what's important to a person, you'll be able to share how the Avon opportunity can make a difference in their life. So, after you've connected, you want to get her talking, and you want to find out what matters most. And you want to think about the questions around why, what, how, who, and when, and also the words tell me. Tell me about this. Or tell me what it was like when you went to this restaurant. Or tell me what it was like at the pumpkin farm. Or tell me what you experienced at the when you went to the opening of the new library. So write these words down. Why, what, how, who, when, and tell me. These are all kind of investigative words, but they're also very conversational because conversations are a two-way street. So you want to be able to ask a question that's engaging and that it's going back and forth, and then you're wanting to listen. So it's really about you being interested in that person and not you being interesting. Because when you want to be interesting, it's like you're telling, it's all about you. Oh, it's all about you, and it's all about Avon. Oh, and let me tell you this: we got this new health and wellness, and oh, we got these new colors, and we just getting ready to launch this new fragrance, and we've got this new program, and you can go on and on listing all of the things that's going on with your Avon business, because when you do that, you're trying to be interesting. It's all about you and Avon and your business. And there's not enough about being interested in the person that you're talking to, right? So as you do that, some of the share open-ended questions could be, well, how's your job going? Maybe someone told you that they were getting ready to start a new job, or maybe you just haven't talked to them a while and just say, well, hey, how's that new job going? And they may say, oh, I like it, I don't like it. Oh, I don't like my boss, I don't like my hours, I just got a raise. Or, maybe I'm not getting paid enough. There are so many things that can come out of that one question. How's your job going? But be intentional and listen very closely to the responses. You may say, well, tell me about what you do. So you're talking to somebody and they say, well, I work for, Charlie Jones and Associates. Really? Charlie Jones and Associates? Well, what do you do with Charlie Jones and Associates? Oh, well, I'm in the customer service department. Oh, yeah, I'm in the customer service department and I follow up on, orders and deliveries and all of this stuff. And you're listening, right? Charlie Jones customer service. And so you're making a mental note, because inside of that response I just gave you, you're probably thinking, well, this lady could probably be pretty good at Avon. She has skills in customer service, right? So you just kind of want to put that on the back burner because you heard it, that she's obviously understands the importance of customer service and customer relations because she's doing that kind of work already, right? Someone, you may ask, well, how do you do it? And when it says do it, maybe you're talking to someone and they may say, well, yes, I've got 3 kids, I work a full-time job, and I'm my job is I live in one area, but I drive to South Bend, or I live in Kokomo and I drive to Indianapolis, or I live in Crawfordsville and I drive to Indianapolis. Maybe in the course of the conversation, they may say that, and you're saying, well, how do you do it? So they're going to share how they do it. Oh, well, I do this, I do that, or I have someone picking up the kids, and they're going to share. And maybe they say, well, I just don't do it very well. My life is a mess. There's not enough hours in the day. Again, you're listening to them share because you've asked an open-ended question. They may say, or you may say, well, what do you think is the hardest part of staying home with your kids? Okay. Well, there could be a variety of things. What do you think is the hardest part of staying home with your kids? Now, Jennifer, you probably can answer that. What do you think?
Dealing with teenagers,
Dealing with teenagers.
I have I have two teenage boys and one teenage girl at home. So just the teenage drama attitude, that's the hardest part for me.
Mhm. Mhm.
Keeping them on task, when they're supposed to be doing schoolwork or chores or whatever.
Mhm. Mhm. So again, it's asking an open-ended question to get you to respond. So, hey, well, how do you manage? So she says, "Oh, it's the teenagers. That's a tough year. There's like she's got hormones flying all over the place, boys and girls, you know, and so, so how do you manage that? When you've got the two teenagers at home, how do you manage that in your day-to-day activities?" And Jennifer might say, "Well, I just kind of take it day by day, with teenagers, right? You know, but the teenagers
Yes.
are probably very active. Maybe they're one's taking music, maybe one's in the band, maybe one's on a sport team. There are a lot of things going on. So in this conversation, maybe she does share. There's a sport team, there's band, there's piano lessons, there's lots of different things. But as you're listening, you're taking mental note because one, it takes a lot of money to keep your teenagers active, and by keeping them active, you keep them out of trouble. At the same time, if they're involved in a lot of activities, I'm sure that there's those groups are raising funds and having fundraisers. Again, asking questions and listening and kind of building a mental note about the person that you're talking to. And here's one. It says, if you could change your situation, what would you change? Well, now that's an interesting one. So, Cheryl, if you could change your situation, what would you change?
Um, I don't know.
Yeah. Well, and you may not know, but you can think about it. But somebody might know. They may say, well, gosh, if I could change my situation, hey, um, it could be a host of things that they might say. Oh, I'd quit my job and I would, do something else. They might say I would, I'd try to, I'd get another job. If I had better hours, maybe I'd get a little part-time job on the side. There could be a variety of things. Whatever the answer is, just listen to try to understand what's going on with the other person. And then this last question, again, open-ended, giving you some ideas, is, and this box is up here on mine. I'm thinking you guys can't see it. Why do you like to volunteer with the PTA so much? you know so someone may say, well, hey, it gets me out of the house, it gives me something to do. Sometimes I just like to talk to some adults, rather than the kids. I like helping. My kids are at the school, I want to be involved, I want to help, I want to be able to contribute. There are a variety of answers that might come out of that, but again, you're listening, and trying to build a relationship with the person that you're talking to. And so then it says, dig deeper. That was step 2. You're asking open-ended questions. Now you're digging deeper and you're finding out what matters most by listening with those questions. And you're listening to her needs and her wants. You're asking follow-up questions and you make them open-ended to keep her talking, right? So once you've asked good open-ended questions, it's so important to dig deeper to find out what matters. You know, and again, this is listening with more questions. And so here's some great examples of how you can, dig deeper. If you find out that she really wants to make new friends, you could dig deeper by saying, well, why is making new friends important to you? Or maybe you found out that she wants more flexibility in her day. And then you might want to find out, well, what would more flexibility in your day mean to you? Or you may find out that she really wants more money. And you could dig deeper by asking her, well, what would more money mean to your family? So it's really taking something you've heard and digging deeper. And you can use these follow-up questions regularly to dig deeper. Does anyone have any other follow-up questions that you might use to dig deeper? No?
No, totally depends on the situation.
Okay. Okay. And it does. It's not something that you're going to just take these questions and use them, but you want to be very conversational. So I need to get a volunteer. And let's see how this works with this example. Here we have Sally, and Sally is an Avon leader, and then there's Sarah, and Sarah and Sally decide to meet for a cup of coffee after they've gone to exercise class. And can I get somebody to play the role of Sally? And then somebody else be the leader. So somebody's going to take the left side of the page, and then somebody's going to take the right side of the page. And when I just click on the buttons, just read the conversation as it goes back and forth. How about that? Who's going to be my Sally?
We don't have to do role playing. You're actually going to give us the words because I can't stand role playing.
Yeah, I'm going to give you the words.
To be negative, but I can't stand role playing. If you just need somebody to read, I can probably handle that.
Okay, Michael, all you need to do is read. So why don't you be Sally?
Okay.
All right, so will someone else be Sarah for me?
I have a customer named Sally, so that works out good. I just saw her today, so I'll just pretend I'm Sally.
Okay. So Cheryl, will you be Sarah?
Sure.
All right, here we go. So we're going to start on the left side. That's Sally. And Sally, you're saying hi.
Hi, Sarah. Happy Friday. I'm so glad we could connect for coffee.
Me too. That spin class is awesome. We have so much fun. It is a great stress release.
I'm with you. I feel great after every class. Did I hear you say that you have 3 kids, one of which is in college? I have only one little guy, and I feel like I can hardly keep my head above water.
Yes, that's right. I also have a crazy dog, and my 2 boys are on a traveling soccer team. I spend my weekend
Schlepping.
all over the place.
In other words, just carrying them all over the place. Okay. All right. Why is this not going? Okay.
I don't envy you there. What else causes your stress?
Oh gosh, I work from home as a book editor. I spend my days on the computer with very little interaction. I need to connect with a human over the age of 14.
I get it. If you could create the life you dream about, what would that life look like?
I would have less stress. I would have lots of friends to hang out with, and I would have plenty of money to help pay for my daughter's college and travel. I love experiencing new places.
Okay. So what do you think? I mean, how did that sound? And what did Sally's open-ended questions do for the conversation?
Sarah sounds like the perfect person to put on my team. I'm telling you. She had all the right answers.
You had all the right answers. And interesting enough, you asked all the right questions. You asked all the right questions. It was what and if you could, and she was very open. Um, so again, it's having that conversation. So right now we're just on the surface. So now you guys take it a little bit deeper, because right now you just started a conversation, and look how much you found out about her already, just in a conversation. Okay? Now let's dig a little deeper and see how that might sound. So if you guys can continue reading.
So, Sarah, why do you feel being connected and having friends are important for you now?
Since my divorce, I have felt so isolated. We had to move to a new area, and I have not felt up to finding new friends.
Do you realize, Dee, that there's like a white box? I can't read the whole balloon.
Not on my screen.
Uh,
Really? Because I can see, I totally understand. I'm divorced
Okay.
and felt that same way when I went through it. You mentioned you, and then I've got a white box. It's overlaid on the bubble. That is weird. And you don't see it on your screen? That is strange.
Does anyone else see it?
no.
No?
Oh, I don't see it.
Okay, so I'll read it for you. I totally understand. I am divorced, and I felt the same way when I went through it. You mentioned you'd love to have more money to help pay for college and travel more. What would it mean if you had more money for these things?
Well, first, I would feel relieved that my daughter will not graduate from college with a ton of debt. I don't want her to have that level of stress at such a young age. Also, by having more money to travel, I could fulfill my lifelong dream of visiting Europe.
Awesome. So when you look at this conversation in total, how can the information help Sally sell Sarah the Avon opportunity?
Lots of ways.
Yeah.
The of finding or getting new friends, having some extra money, especially being around people that obviously have the same, not the same situation, but like, Sally saying that she's also divorced and felt the same way. Just a lot of things. Like I say, that last screen, it's like, oh my gosh, I could check off like 3 things immediately.
Uh-huh. Yeah. And so, how do you think Sarah feels during this conversation? I mean, do you think she feels like Sally's interested in her?
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah. So she would come away from it feeling like, okay, well, Sally seems like she's genuinely interested in me and really cares about me. So that's the kind of level of conversation that you want to have. And at this level, there's not been a single conversation about mascara, lipstick, I sell Avon, none of that. It's just having a conversation. And that's why I say so often what I find is that people struggle with this first part of just having a conversation and building a relationship. And, because so far they haven't, given that laundry list of all these interesting things about Avon that they could share. So this is getting to know the person, that's the G. So now we move to R. Okay, so when we get to the R, it is about recommending the right Avon solution. We all know that when selling the opportunity, the Avon opportunity is the right opportunity. And if you're selling product, it's important to determine what solution's right for the customer based upon her needs. You know, what color lipstick is she wanting? What color nail polish is she wanting? You know, what kind of fragrances does she like? You know, so we're going to talk about what we call the 3 C's when it comes to recommending the right Avon solution. And those are clarifying needs, communicate a solution, and connecting the dots. Okay? So when we look at the 3 C's, you know, every time you recommend the right Avon solution, follow these 3 C's, and you just can't go wrong. Okay? Again, clarify her needs and wants, communicate the right Avon solution, connect the dots, how the solution meets her needs and wants. You can see that you can't do these steps unless you get to know the person's needs and wants in the G first. So make sure you spend enough time to get to know her before you try to recommend an Avon solution, because then she's going to start to feel that you're too aggressive. You're just trying to sell her something. You know, she's going to turn you off, right? So clarify first. Now, so why is it important to clarify first? So when we talk about the first C, clarify her wants and needs, you might be wondering, well, why do you need to do this? You know, didn't you just reveal these in the conversation or the last time you talked with her? You know, believe it or not, this step is very, very important. If you don't clarify her needs and wants before you recommend the solution, you know, you will make sure you really understand her needs and wants. You don't want to assume anything. You possibly identify additional needs and wants by clarifying it. And you want to make sure her needs and wants have not changed since the last conversation. And by doing this, you know, she's going to feel like you heard her and that you're listening to her. So that's why it's so important to clarify her needs. Okay. Then, once you confirmed her needs and her wants, you want to share the solution and how it will help her. And so here we have an example of some verbiage that you can use as a structure for your recommendation. This is just a structure. Obviously, your words will be more casual, but listen to the example so that you understand. So you might say, well, you know, given your, and you're going to search your need or want, you know, given your need to be around more people and meet more people, you know, I recommend that you try, you know, doing Avon, you know, which will allow you to get out and meet people and, you know, talk about Avon and start building a larger community or a network. You always want to connect that recommendation to what you heard her want or need is. And you do this automatically when it comes to product. But most people tend not to do it when you're speaking of the opportunity. Then here's an example. We'll go again. Sally and Sarah. And hopefully the bubble boxes won't be covered this time, Michaela.
So, I screenshot it so you wouldn't think that I was insane. I'll email it to you later.
Oh, that's no big deal. I don't, no worries.
That was weird. Okay. It sounds like you would love to connect with some new people and make some extra money to help pay for your daughter's college and travel. Is that right?
So again, you're confirming what you thought you heard her say, right? Because she may come across and say, no, that's not what I meant. That's not what I said. What are you talking about? And so here we go. Sarah?
Yes, I would love to do that.
You should join my team as an Avon representative. You can make new friends and be part of a great group of women. The ladies on my team are fabulous. Everyone supports each other and has a lot of fun. You would love them. As a rep for Avon, you can also earn extra money for your daughter's college and for cool trips. They can help her avoid stress when she graduates, and you can take that dream trip to Europe. Who doesn't want to have fun with friends and make money at the same time?
Okay. So here's the follow-up discussion where you've taken what you've heard, you're clarifying, you're using the 3 C's, you're clarifying, you're making a right solution, and you're not just making it up just because. You're making it up because you're connecting the dots. You put everything together from the previous conversations until now. So now it's all about the O. And the O is offering relatable stories that demonstrate your belief. And when you talk about this part of the GROW model, it's really important to relate to the person as you build a trusted relationship. By sharing a story or two, you can help her see how the solution has impacted you as well as others. Always keep in mind, if you don't have a story that you believe it's relatable, you can always tell someone else's story. And that just kind of falls into as an example. And, it's just, instead of you saying, hey, this is what happened to me, you might say, well, hey, one of my other representatives had this happen, or my sister, or my sister-in-law, or this is what happened to my mother. But stories really illustrate how a solution can make a difference to her. So don't always feel like you have to have the story. It could be somebody else's story. You're just sharing it. Now, when we kicked off our program, we really talked about your story. Tell your story from the kickoff module in a relatable way. You guys shared with me your story. I know there's other things inside of your story that you may not have shared that are relatable, but the more you relate your story to the person, the better you will be in terms of connecting them. Now, in our first module, we said, what do you want out of life? What do you not want out of a life? Why do you have an Avon business? How has your Avon business changed your life in a positive way? How does running your Avon business make you feel? Now, when you look at these questions, even after the scenario with Sally and Sarah, each one of you probably has something you could pull from your story that would be relatable to Sarah. So say everybody on the call tonight is Sally, and you're talking to Sarah. Share with me one thing that's relatable in your story that you think might be relatable to Sarah.
Well, this is Michaela, and I've got to tell you, I actually kind of crack up when I read that last screen. I don't know how many times I have told someone, a recruiter, whoever, about how totally awesome my unit is and the representatives that I work with, and how they seriously do help each other even though they're not in each other's downlines. I got to tell you, that looked like something they took right out of something I wrote down. God, that's hilarious.
Okay.
That part about the ladies on my team are fabulous, that sounds exactly like me. Everyone supports each other and has a lot of fun. Because I'll tell you, I got to tell you, I even had a representative who made Honor Society and took another woman from my downline who didn't make President's Club that specific year. That's how well they liked each other. They weren't in each other's downlines. They were both in my first generation, but, and I tell you what, that is a strong selling point depending on the situation about how you don't just get me, you get this whole team of people to help you.
Okay. Awesome. Awesome. So you could relate to that. That's something you could share. You could share that with conviction, and
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, they're going to feel that.
I mean, they're more than just, you know, team members. They'll be more than just friends. They'll be coworkers. They'll be helpers. They'll help you find what you need. They'll, you know, help answer questions. I've been very fortunate to have a group that has worked extremely well with each other. Mm-hmm. Extremely.
So anybody else have anything that you can relate to so far?
This is Jennifer. Okay. I completely could relate to her with not having anyone to talk to over the age of 14. When I first started with Avon, my oldest was 4. My oldest was 4, and I was pregnant with my second. Uh-huh. And as I went through Avon and had more children, my husband called it my sanity, because it was my adult conversation that I was able to have with people.
Yeah.
And also the same with the team. I have a fantastic team. I call them my family. And, you know, I would also, you know, relay to her how she could meet people on the team and make friends with them as well.
Yeah. Perfect. Perfect. So let's look at an example of a relatable story. Here, Avon has worked for me and my team members, and I think it can work for you too. So, you know, Sally says, well, let me tell you what has worked for me and others like you. And then to the right, she shares a relevant story. Because I totally understand how you feel when you say you need to connect with new friends. When my son went to kindergarten, I was totally lost. My whole life had revolved around him and his needs, and I had very few friends. That's when I found Avon. Avon gives me a reason to connect with new people, and it gives me something new to talk about beyond my son and his needs. And I love it. I've made so many new friends. You know, you remind me a lot of Suzanne. Suzanne is my sister-in-law. She pulled me aside a few years ago and was interested in learning more about Avon. Every year, Suzanne takes a trip with her girlfriends. My brother always complains because they really can't afford it. Suzanne refuses to give up her girl time, because she was looking for something to help her pay for the trip herself. She found that Avon gave her the opportunity not only to pay for the trips, but also have more girl time with her new friends. I really believe that Avon might be the right opportunity for you. So again, an example of offering a relatable story. Again, being interested and not being interesting, because that's how you're going to be able to connect the dots. There's a time and a place to be interesting.
I'm surprised that nowhere on here have they mentioned about earning trips with Avon, since she specifically mentioned trips.
Yeah. Well, and she could have. It's just there's only so much she can, you know, put. But
because I want to bring that up, since that was part.
Yeah.
Of, you know.
Yeah. And so the question is, you know, what additional stories beyond your own, you know, could you use when selling the opportunity? And to your point, you could talk about the trip. right?
Yep.
Perfect. So the W is all about working to establish next steps. And in the W, it's always ask and establish next steps. And so when we look at this one, it's always ask her to join your team. And once you talk through G, R, and O, just go for it. Ask her to join your team. And here's 4 ways to ask her. Why don't you get started today? Okay? Why don't we get you started today? I'm sorry. Why don't we get you started today? And then what is she going to say? Well, no, I don't think so. Well, why not? What's stopping you? Maybe it's honestly, I'd love to have you join my team. How can we make it happen? What additional information do you need to get started? What additional information, if any, can I provide to help you determine if the Avon opportunity is right for you? So, what are some other ways that you guys have asked people to join your team? I mean, it could be, well, hey, I'd love to help you, achieve your dreams, or, I'd love to help you earn some, vacations, or have the extra money that you need to go on vacation. It could be a host of things. But the question is, it's got to be natural, and it's kind of assumptive, you know. It's kind of like, well, why don't we get you started today? It's like, hey, let's do it. What's holding you back? And she may tell you, well, hey, I don't have the money. I'm not ready. I'm not this. She's going to give you an objection, and it's up to you to listen and see how you can help her resolve those objections. you know hey, honestly, I'd love to have you on my team. What could be more gratifying and complimentary than for somebody to tell you, hey, I'd love to have you on my team? How can we make that happen? Okay. The other thing, I say to leaders is that this whole conversational selling is really about you establishing a relationship, but it's also kind of you having an interview with someone. Okay, so you're asking questions, you're interviewing them, you're understanding a little bit about them, and you're making some mental notes. Well, can this person really be successful? You know, are they coachable? Do they want help? Are they going to answer the phone when I call them, or are they going to run away from me when I call them? The reason why people don't answer the phone or they don't respond is that, one, they have no relationship with you. They don't. They can't relate. They came in, and they didn't come in a way maybe that says, okay, I know my leader is here to help me satisfy those wants and those needs that I shared with her at the beginning, right? So be prepared for every outcome and think about how you will handle her responses. If she says yes, then you as a leader must be ready to get her started, be able to tell her how to get started, what's going to be required, ask for the things that you need to get her started, and make a positive first impression. You might hear her say, maybe, I'm not sure, let me think about it, call me next week. Then that may be your opportunity to further demonstrate your belief. Help her see the benefits more clearly. Then, of course, if you hear some obstacles, oh, I don't think so. I don't think my husband really wants me to do this. I don't really have time to do this. Then you're going to ask deeper questions to understand. And then once you dig deeper, then respond. If you hear her just say, no, Michael, I appreciate your asking, and I'm flattered that you'd like for me to be on your team. But no, I just don't think I'm really interested right now. And you might want to ask if the person knows anyone else that might be interested. You might want to discuss other opportunities for Avon product or fundraising. And then, of course, you always want to stay connected, and connect with her on social media. So no is not so definitive as to no, never. Inside that no to the opportunity could very well be a yes to the products or fundraiser. Could very well be a yes. Hey, I know somebody else that I think might be just great at Avon. You know, my girlfriend would just love this. You know, give her a call. Ask for that referral. And then if none of it works, get that name and number, connect with them on social media, because if not now, maybe in the future. So as you identify next steps, no matter how she responds, make sure you agree to a next step. Always propose an appropriate next step. Set a time expectation. Be accommodating. Capture her contact information. Highlight a roadmap of next steps. And a roadmap of next steps could be an informal check-in. Hey, I understand you're not sure right now. Let me give you a call next Tuesday. How about that? What number should I call you at? Or hey, I'm sure, think about it if you want to, and let's just meet for coffee next week at McDonald's. I'm supposed to get these new samples in. I'd like for you to, check out one of the new samples or something. And then maybe there's another informal check-in. And then, maybe you invite her to attend a team meeting that you have, or a webinar, or have her listen in to one of our national sales meetings with Evie, right? Have some type of next step to follow up to kind of stay engaged, because it's maybe just by hearing that, hearing some other people talk about it, they might be more interested. Or you might say, hey, I got somebody on my team that has a very similar story as you do. Would you like to give her a call and just talk to her about her Avon business and how she got started? So offer her someone else to talk to beyond you to help you sell the opportunity. So examples of next steps, we go again, Sarah and Sally.
It feels like you are still mulling this over. Why don't you sleep on it? Think about any potential concerns or questions, and we can connect again in 2 days. How do you prefer to be contacted?
I prefer text or phone.
Fantastic. Let me add you now. When we connect later this week, we can determine if you think it would be worthwhile to grab coffee with Kelsey. She's fantastic and reminds me of you. We could also have you attend our team meeting if you'd like that.
Great. Talk to you soon.
Okay. So as you know, the fortune is always in the follow-up, but do avoid these missteps when you're performing your follow-up. The first one is just not following up at all. That's just taboo. You don't want to not do that. Connecting through Twitter when they requested text, email, or Facebook. So always follow up in the manner that they say to follow up in. Maybe not offering up anything of value, not adjusting your plan of attack, and an affinity to follow up. Cut your losses. And a follow-up might look kind of like this. After initial contacts on a Monday, 2 days out, you kind of offer, number one. 4 days out, again, 8 days out, you've got another follow-up. So there may be 3 points of follow-up with that person before you just kind of say, I'm going to, cut and run. But never let that one initial ask be your one and only. You kind of have to think about it, how you feel when someone does not follow up with you, or when they don't follow up, on their commitments. So grow your business like a boss. You know, being a beauty boss means recognizing success when it happens. Telltale signs that you are rocking it is when it starts to feel natural, less salesy, and more sincere. That your prospect will be visibly at ease with you, and that they will be leaning in and nodding their head in agreement to what you're saying. And you will get 15 plus minutes of information being shared with you. And they will be eager to set up that next step and will appreciate your follow up. So don't forget, you know, it's okay to fake it till you make it. Um, so telltale signs that you're rocking it. I think the biggest one for me is that when it starts to feel natural, then when it's just a natural conversation for you, to ask those questions and then be able to know when to make a recommendation. And then the power is when you can offer a relatable story. That's how this whole conversation and that relationship comes together. So the application guide that you all have, Growing Your Business, allows you to practice your approach, you know, looking at establishing common ground or starting with a compliment, and you have the ability to write in some questions that you're going to use. So in preparation for your one-on-one call, you're going to want to complete the 2-page application guide. And once we have the one-on-one calls, we'll go through that. And you know, in the words of Michaela, she said she doesn't like to role play, but we in effect will role play. But you will have prepared it well in advance, and you have lots of examples of questions that you can use on the reference guide and on the application guide to help you. It's like anything else. In order for you to get really good at something, you do have to practice. And then to prepare for our collaboration call, the big question that we'll open that call with is, who is the most interesting person you know and why? So with that, make sure that you get to know the person and her needs, recommend the right Avon solution, offer relatable stories that demonstrate your belief, and work to establish next steps. And this is all part of the conversational selling module. So I think, let's see, we're a little past an hour tonight, quite a bit
Hey,
past.
Dee, can you back up a frame with the question on it, please?
Uh-huh.
Thank you.
Yeah. So if you have questions, just send me a text or give me a call as you're, you know, starting to prepare. Don't hesitate to start to practice what we've gone through tonight with anyone this week in advance of your one-on-one call. Just because you want to start to get comfortable, if you're not already, with conversational selling. Don't hesitate to quickly reach out to someone on your team and just say, hey, I want to share with you something that I'm learning in the coaching program, and it's called conversational selling. And walk them through your application guide, your reference guide, and share with them what you're learning. And by doing that, it will absolutely enhance your learning. Role play it with them and say, hey, you know, I'm learning this conversational selling, and here's how it works. And, you know, by you doing that with someone on your team, then you're cascading and you're also, you know, improving, enhancing your learning, but you're also engaging someone in your team in the learning process as well. So with that in mind, I'm going to close out for tonight. Thank you all for your attention, and have a good rest of the evening, and stay dry the next couple of days.
Thanks.
All right, good night.
Night.
Night.